So obviously I got the new Messi boots, but the store that I got them from also sent me this box that, as you can see, is purple in color, has the Nemeziz logo, and then Messi there on the front with his signature, although it's not actually signed by Messi. I'm pretty sure this is like some kind of store-only promotional item that they were nice enough to send me, so thank you for that. And there is something inside, so I figured I would open it on camera because I don't actually know what's in there, and wow. So weird. Now, I've been accused a few times for being a Messi boot hater, either because I didn't think the colorway was very good, or I didn't think the design was very attractive, or I didn't think the boots as a whole were very good, perhaps all three of those things in certain situations. But this in particular, I think, is Messi's best signature football boot in years. It is the Adidas Messi Nemeziz 19.1, the same model he's been wearing, but in a colorway inspired by the 2010 F50 Adizero in Chameleon Purple. Now, to be clear, that 2010 F50 Adizero in Chameleon Purple wasn't an official Messi colorway. He did wear it exclusively during the 2010 World Cup, but it didn't actually have a Messi logo anywhere on it. Either way, I think it is highly regarded as one of Messi's best ever signatures, and it's also one of the most important boots for the Adidas brand in recent history, because really, that original F50 Adizero changed the entire football boot industry, and I love the fact that they are finally calling back to that particular colorway with Messi's latest signature model that, like I said, I think looks really good. We're gonna take a closer look at the colorway. We're gonna talk tech specs and performance, because I think that the Nemeziz 19.1 as a whole is actually a very underrated boot, and we'll also take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire review, and if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the little pop-up in the corner of the screen or the first link down below. That's gonna take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal $225 retail price. So included with the boots is a box and nothing else. As for the boots themselves, I know there are some people that just straight up don't like the look of this current generation of Nemeziz, either the 19 Plus or the 19.1, but I happen to think that this is a really good looking pair of football boots, especially because it does look so much like that original 2010 F50 Adizero in Chameleon Purple that I had as a kid in the leather upper variation. And I do actually have a synthetic pair in my collection that I searched for about an hour and a half prior to making this video because I really wanted to include them. Unfortunately, I am not fully organized from the poo flood situation, which I realized is months ago now and there's no excuse for me, but I couldn't find them, so you're just gonna have to deal with this picture on screen. When I do find them though, I will post a picture of these side by side with those on my Instagram, because I think that would be really cool. Either way, the boots I think look great, and the appeal of this colorway is mostly the Chameleon Purple. That for some reason they're not calling Chameleon Purple. I think the official tagline for this color is Indigo, which I don't think makes a lot of sense. But the interesting part of this is, as you can see when I move it around, it goes from like a dark purple to like a light blue. It has this little bit of a color changing effect, which is different from the original that had more of a dark purple that transitioned into kind of like a greenish tinge, I guess was the best way to describe it. This, as you can see, has all of the tension tape in like purple on purple, just two different shades, and then this glossy layer of kind of TPU plastic on the surface that gives it this color changing effect. Either way, I think it looks really good. They did not go for white stripes like the original. Instead, they opted for that neon green as an accent, which again is a little bit different from the original because it was more of a neon yellow than it was a neon green, but it's still pretty close. The Adidas logo on the front is also in that color. And then of course, the 360 Agility branding and Messi logo right there on the medial side are also in green. And then to match the white sprint frame of that F50 Adizero, they've gone with a white split sole that I think looks really good, contrasts really nicely with the dark purple upper, and then you have more of a neon yellow rather than neon green for the stud tip. So that's a little bit of an interesting choice in that the stud tip color doesn't necessarily match the accent color that you'll find throughout the rest of the boot. Not a big deal. Very subtle thing. Most people aren't even going to notice that, but because I pick on everything, I have to pick on it. As for the Nemeziz 19.1 specifically, despite being worn by who many would argue is the best player in the world right now in Leo Messi, the Nemeziz line as a whole has not been the most popular, and granted, Messi doesn't wear this exact version that I'm holding in my hand. His is custom made, it has a burrito style tongue, and who knows what other minor changes have been made, but for the most part, it doesn't look too far off what you can actually buy, which is nice to see. And I legitimately feel like this is probably, and I'm just making a list in my head right now, yes, a top 3 boot from the Adidas brand for me personally. And in no particular order, I think that is the Copa 20 Plus, Copa 19 Plus can be in that conversation as well, the X 19.1, and then the Nemeziz 19.1. Put those in whatever order you want. I think this is legitimately that good, and it does not get the attention that it deserves for whatever reason. Again, Messi wears the boots. You think people would be all over them, but that has not been the case. Now, the appeal of this boot is that it's an agility boot. At least that's how it's marketed. And I'm not sure that that makes a lot of sense. I think from a responsiveness standpoint, with the laces tied tight, this is arguably the most responsive boot on offer from the Adidas brand, which I think does play into the whole agility theme, although I don't think it's that much better than, say, an X 19.1, which would be their dedicated speed boot. But as a whole, I would kind of categorize this as a secondary speed boot alongside the X line. It's the best way to kind of describe what's going on here. You have what is a tension tape upper, these really thick bands of very thin, kind of elasticated material that they add structure by inserting a liner on the inside and then fuse on top. It's very thin, it's very flexible. This, I would say, is the most true barefoot feel you're going to get from any Adidas boot right now, more so than the X line, especially the X 19.1, mainly based on the fact that this just has less of a padded feel to it. Yes, it's a textile-based synthetic, but it's not that soft and spongy type of texture like you get from the Speed Mesh on the X 19.1. So you get this very pingy, consistent barefoot touch across the entire foot. It also features a one-piece construction with this kind of overlapping tension tape design that actually feels really nice. It's very soft. The boots, despite having a one-piece upper, are actually very easy to put on and take off, which is not always the case for a lot of boots with this particular design. Central lacing system, I would strongly recommend using that. This is not a boot that you should be wearing laceless just because there's not actually a lot of tension provided by this tension tape, ironically enough. The boot does, of course, have a low-cut construction, kind of unusual with this V-cut. It's become a signature of the Nemeziz line, but not something that you're honestly going to notice that much. Internal plastic heel counter, and then as far as the internals are concerned, the liner is a very smooth synthetic, almost kind of like a Clarino type material. For anybody that's played hockey, they know what that is, and it's common in hockey skates, or at least was. I'm not sure why I'm talking about hockey skates in a football boot review, but you get what I'm saying. It's very soft. It grips your heel nicely. I like the way that it feels. And the insole, that is also fully removable. Would have been nice to include a second one. And honestly, I think it also would have been cool to maybe put some F50 branding on here just to kind of relate it back to the original. It would have been a very inexpensive thing for Adidas to do. Instead, they just went for the Messi logo and the 19.1 branding. And the insole itself, it just has this soft, kind of synthetic suede liner on the surface, some perforations throughout. And it's made from a single layer of white foam. Which brings us to the base, where you'll find the torsion system split sole construction, which obviously is a split sole design. There's still a solid sole plate that runs from heel to toe. Obviously, some of that material from the upper is left exposed through the midfoot. Then you have a stud plate in the forefoot, stud plate in the heel. This, I would say, most closely compares to not another Adidas boot, but actually the Nike Mercurial series, whether it's the Vapor or the Superfly with its split sole construction. I don't think it's quite as good, especially given the fact that this doesn't have that anatomic kind of sole plate base that I think is such an important aspect of how the Mercurial currently feels and part of what makes it so responsive and connected feeling on your foot. This also is a little bit bulkier, but it's similar in that it does have more of a stiff sensation to it in terms of giving you this spring back feel. It's not awkwardly stiff in any way. There also seems to be a little bit more thickness to the sole plate and the stud plate itself. So it's not as low profile feeling as the Mercurial, but still really, really solid underfoot, which is something that I'm a big fan of. And as far as the stud pattern is concerned, this is something you're going to find across the entire Nemeziz line. It's mostly all conical studs in the usual Adidas layout. So if you've worn an Adidas boot in the last several years, basically since 2010 when Adidas launched the F50 adizero, this has been the stud pattern layout that they've pretty much stuck with. If you've worn any of those boots, you kind of have an idea of what to expect. It's good, but certainly nothing special. Which brings us to the weight. The one area where I definitely think Adidas could have done a little bit better with the Nemeziz 19.1. Not to say that it's heavy, but given the style of boot that it is, you probably would expect it and want it to be a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna weigh these for you. Brand new, size 9.5 US. Throw them on the scale and you can see that they weigh in at 8.1 ounces, the equivalent of 230 130 grams, which, like I said, is not heavy, but if we're comparing this to a lot of the other flagship speed boots, and I know it's an agility boot, pretty much the same thing. It's just not as light as its competition. There are lighter options out there, but if you like more of a solid feel, then I don't think you'll have an issue with the little bit of added weight that comes with the Nemeziz 19.1. So as you might have expected, I have swapped out the stock purple laces, which do match the upper and look perfectly fine, but everyone's gonna have those laces. I've changed them for some green reflective SR4U replacement laces that accent perfectly with the green bits that you have on the upper, and I think it just works well. This is a colorway that is all about contrast. This makes that stand out that much more. Plus, they make your boots different from everyone else with the same colorway. So if you're interested in changing up the style of your boots in a very inexpensive way, the website to visit is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in some for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, I think what really stands out about the Nemeziz 19.1 is that it just feels very solid. I don't want to say that a lot of modern football boots, being that they're so much thinner than they used to be, both the upper and the Soleplate, have kind of a flimsy feel to them, but in comparison to something like this just feels way more substantial on your feet. Not so much the upper, because it is relatively thin, but the split sole design that they've gone with just feels nice and solid, which you might love, you might hate. This has more of kind of an older style speed boot vibe in a lot of ways because of how solid they feel under feet, but overall, very comfortable, and they do feel nice and light on your feet, given how well they fit, as well as how responsive this upper is. It has a lot of structure to it, despite being so thin. When you tie the laces tight, your foot feels very secure, the lockdown is phenomenal, and as a whole, there's just not too much to complain about here in regards to fit. I also think that this has a better overall shape for a speed boot than the X line in that it's slightly lower volume through the midfoot, forefoot, and toe box area. And I think you can see that just in the way that they look on feet. They're a little bit more form-fitting. As far as width is concerned, I think that these are going to be suitable for most foot types. Even if you did have slightly wider feet, I don't think that these are exceptionally wide, but I do think that they will fit most people. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and length is perfect. So if you're looking to order some for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. Overall, I think it's about time that Messi gets a cool signature colorway. At least in my opinion, this is a cool one. Not to say that the last several haven't been great, but this one definitely stands out for me. And like I said, the Nemeziz 19.1 as a whole, while not a perfect product by any means, it is very underrated. And given the fact that it hasn't been that popular, maybe not in this colorway right now, but every past colorway, because they haven't sold, is deeply discounted. So if you're looking for a really good bang for your buck option, yeah, the retail is $225, but you can get them on sale for about $120. And at that price, you're gonna have a hard time finding something better than this that offers all of these features. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in some of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.